curious minds of the interwebs? I'm Alexa, the resident ooky spooky girly, and welcome back to another day where I want to run away from online and never come back. I had no idea just how many actual found footage videos existed on the internet, and I think I'm genuinely gonna get some nightmares from them. Can I go back to just watching Blair Witch in peace? That would be lovely, please and thanks. Question for y'all, what is your favorite found footage movie? Since I'm burdened with this new knowledge, I can't think of anything better to do than to share it with all of y'all, so here are the top 5 scary found footage videos discovered in isolated places. In 5th place, we have High School. Ryan Draper and Tori Adamczyk were students at Pocatello High School in Idaho that were interested in films and decided to try to record their own. It starts off innocent enough with a frame showing a crowded high school hallway before cutting to the night of September 22nd. I believe we have the video, so you can see the transition for yourself right now. The two boys are in a car and you can overhear Brian saying, "We're here in this car." The time is 9:50, September 22nd, 2006. Unfortunately, we have the grueling task of killing our two friends and they are right in that house just down the street. Tori goes on to explain that they had already been hanging out with the soon-to-be victim that evening, Cassie Jo Stoddart, while she was, house sitting for her aunt and uncle on Whispering Cliffs Drive in northeast Bannock County. Her boyfriend Matt Beckham had also been in attendance for the hangout, but went home before the unfortunate events. Cassie had given the friends a tour of the house, including the basement. She was house sitting for her aunt and uncle. The 4 teens went into the living room to watch a movie, but the would-be criminals left before the film ended, claiming they wanted to watch a movie at the local movie theater instead. She was unaware that before the boys left, Brian had unlocked the basement door so that he and Tori could re-enter the house undetected. Sometime after leaving the house on Whispering Cliffs, the duo returned to the neighborhood, parked down the street, got out of their car, and put on costumes consisting of dark clothing, gloves, and white painted masks. The boys entered the house through the basement door that had been left unlocked, while the couple that was left there were watching television in the living room, as planned, intentionally making loud noises when they got downstairs in an unsuccessful attempt to lure the couple down there. When that didn't work, they found the circuit breaker and turned off the power in the house, hoping, 1 or 2 of them would come down to check the breaker, but that didn't work either, and they were freaking out upstairs. At approximately 10:30 p.m., Matt's mother picked him up, leaving Cassie at the house alone. He called Tori's cell phone to see where he and Brian were, and could barely hear him since he was whispering, so Matt assumed the boys were at the movie theater, as planned. Eventually, the boys went upstairs, armed with stabby implements, and attacked and ended the life of Cassie. Afterwards, they filmed their conversation. Why not? With Brian clearly stating that they just killed Cassie, just left her house, and that it wasn't a bleeping joke. He further elaborated on how he impaled her in the throat and saw her lifeless body. A lot of which nope, can't say that here. The footage in total is over half an hour, and it made me sick to my stomach to watch. Both boys were arrested on September 27th, 2006, and eventually received sentences of life imprisonment without parole. Good riddance. In 4th place, we have the elusive White Lady of Union Graveyard. Located in Connecticut, Lorraine Warren, one of our favorite people, used to often take walks through the cemetery in question, saying that it was one of the most haunted places around. Now her husband, Ed, caught the White Lady on camera on September 1st of 1990 at 2:40 a.m. during his 7th night in a row of filming at the cemetery. Determined to have footage as proof, and we can show some of that footage to you now. He described dark figures surrounding her, shapes that he described as wood ghosts that seemed to jump on her while they all argued. Who was this mysterious lady? Because I love a good spooky lady. It's believed she is Harriet Seeley, whose young son passed shortly after being born, and Harriet herself passing soon after. Legend believes she may have died in hopes of finding her son, and still wanders her final resting place searching him out. She's described as a young woman wearing a white dress with dark hair. Many who have witnessed her believe they have almost hit her with their vehicle, only to find no trace of her once they pull over. Others claim they have often seen her hovering slightly above the ground around the cemetery, going back and forth amongst different gravestones. In 1993, local firefighter Glenn Powell received a call about a transformer explosion and drove to the scene of the incident with a police officer and observed a female driver following closely behind him on the road. He remembers the night sky had turned pink, and the explosion emitted large amounts of electricity that made the hair in his arms stand up at a close distance. Glenn was driving along the road beside the cemetery when the officer seated next to him yelled, "Watch out!" In the middle of the road was a woman with long brown flowing hair and wearing a white Victorian nightgown. Glenn described seeing a surprised look on her face before slamming on the brakes, but was unable to avoid hitting her, describing it like hitting a brick wall with the back of his truck flying into the air and the policeman next to him being launched into the dashboard. The driver behind him jumped out of the car and helped the two men search the area of the crash to check on the woman, but she was gone. Glenn is quoted as saying there was no red fluid, there was no clothing, there was no body, there was nothing. The footage of the White Lady was considered lost for many years, never making its way to the internet until after the passing of the Warrens, when their son-in-law Tony found the tape in a lost corner and uploaded it here to the interwebs. Glad we've got it. In third place, we have lake monster footage. In June of 2009, a cell phone video of a creature swimming in Lake Champlain near Oakledge Park in Burlington caught some attention. The nearly 2-minute long video, taken by Burlington resident Eric Olson, shows a creature moving across the mouth of the small cove and beach area at the park. At several points during the video, the whatever it is appears to raise its head about a foot or more above the water's surface. Other times, a portion of what appears to be a torso, several feet in length, can also be seen. Eric has been adamant in saying that he was simply filming the water when he noticed the cryptid and tried to zoom in on it. He says that anyone watching it can see that whatever it was moving both horizontally across the water and vertically, going under the surface and coming back up. He described it as looking very long, but not very wide. Now, Lauren Coleman is a cryptozoologist based in Portland, Maine, and said what Olson filmed with his phone is the best evidence to date of what residents on both sides of Lake Champlain prefer to call champ. He stated that the video should be forensically analyzed and broken down frame by an expert. Before that day, the best known champ evidence was a photo taken in 1977 by Sandra Mancy of Bristol while she was having a picnic on the lake with her family. The photo was verified as legitimate and later appeared in Time magazine and the New York Times. I'm sorry, who was gonna tell me there's oodles of evidence of a sea monster here in Canada? Yikes! In second place, we have stalker footage. Parasocial relationships are the incredibly terrifying, one-sided bond a fan or follower think they have with a public figure, and sadly can lead to scary stories. I'm speaking from experience, and this is one point I won't be elaborating on. Icelandic pop star Björk learned this, sadly, when an American fan sent her an explosive device in disguise and then, offed himself, leaving behind 22 hours of videotape. Ricardo Lopez was described by his peers as extremely bright, but dropped out of high school to become an artist. As well as the videotapes, he left behind an 803-page handwritten diary full of the musings of, someone embarrassed by his body and awkward around girls. Okay, but I'm not a killer. Ricardo escaped his life by reading about the glamorous world of celebrities, fixating on Björk as his muse that he created art around. But soon the fan love entered the gray area of obsession. And that's the danger zone of being a fan. He recorded himself talking to the camera, saying that being in love, having an infatuation is a euphoric feeling, and he was very happy. He had something to look forward to every day. The diary shows how the fantasy eventually turned, more and more consuming, and how Ricardo slowly became less and less anchored in reality. 3 years into his obsession, he read that Björk had a lover, and he wrote in his diary about his sadistic plans to inflict pain onto her. Ricardo constructed an explosive device using sulfuric acid and placed it inside a hollowed-out book, also forging a letter from her record company telling her the book was for a future project. We actually have footage of him building that device, and I'll let that play now. He managed to acquire the address for her London home and mailed the package off, in hopes that she would open it and it would explode right in her face. Ricardo went home, still savoring the drama after he mailed it off. One tape showed him saying to the camera, "It went off almost without a hitch. I'm shaking more and more, but I was real cool in there, just a little bit nervous." With his device now almost at Björk's doorstep, Lopez began the final act for his tape, taking his life. In his video, Ricardo said he knew many killers had families that were brutal, but said his own family was normal and kind, and he played Björk's music in the background. His last words were, "This is for you," before pulling the trigger. On the video, a kaboom noise rang out, but there was no visible fluids. Ricardo just groaned and fell out of frame. Police found his body 4 days after the incident and were able to stop the package 1 day before it caused the intended harm. On September 16th of 1996, police found the camera and a videotape labeled The Last Day. Several other cassettes were also nearby, and personally this is the scariest video for me today. I've watched enough Criminal Minds to know premeditated killings are a thing, but this is a whole other level of terrifying. Oh, people. In first place, we have the Paris Catacombs. For those who do not know, the Catacombs are a series of underground tunnels that are located underneath Paris that were created during the late 18th century to help alleviate the city's cemetery shortage crises. Fun fact, there are approximately 6 million bodies buried in the catacombs alone, which, that's a lot of ghosties. In recent times, however, the catacombs have become a popular place for urban explorers, who have dubbed themselves cataphiles. One significant example of this is a man who took some footage of the catacombs of Paris sometime in the early 1990s. I'll kick this off with a snippet now before I describe it. The footage, which was shot on a black and white video recorder, starts as rather unremarkable, with the man exploring around the catacombs, and hey, he even picks up a few bones along the way. Wouldn't recommend it, but he did. As the video goes on, however, the man begins to walk at a faster pace before breaking into a run and drops the camera before running off into the darkness. It landed in a puddle on its side, and that's where it stayed as it filmed the man's feet running away. The point of view shot became disorienting as he ran, swinging from tunnel to tunnel, seeming to reflect his confusion about which one he should run down next. Sometime after that, the footage was found by a different group of cataphiles in one of the deepest areas of the catacombs, before being acquired by a documentarian by the name of Francis Friedland. He later presented the footage on the second episode of the ABC Family Show, Scariest Places on Earth, in the year 2000. Nobody has stepped up after the initial airing of the episode nearly 2 decades ago, including Friedland himself. Nobody has stepped up after the initial airing of the episode over 2 decades ago, including Friedland himself. No one knows what happened to the man in the video or who he was to this day. And that brings us to the end of our list, and I think I need a shower. Minus the cryptid and the ghosties, today's scary people are definitely gonna have my brain wired for more than a few hours tonight. I hope you all enjoyed today, and hey, feel free to give this video a like, hit the bell, and subscribe for more from us here at Top 5 Scary Videos, and I'll see y'all next time, you lovely spooky people. Of a fan or follower that thinks they have, you know, okay, what the sorry, I think I worded that wrong. Okay, there we go. Sorry about that.